Welcome, everyone. Let me call to order this meeting of the City of Bloomington Plan Commission for February 7th, 2022. Can we begin by calling the roll, please?
Okay, Ballard.
Here.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Ballard, I didn't hear.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Burrell,
Here.
Seymour,
Here.
Cochran,
Here.
Pereira,
Here.
Kinsey, Smith,
Here.
St. John,
Here.
Whistler,
Here.
and Enright Randolph.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, so we do have a quorum. We will proceed. We have a number of things on the agenda this evening. We have some internal housekeeping to do since this is our first meeting of the year. And then we will get on to petitions. There are two petitions on the agenda this evening. DP 0122. This is petitioner of the Redevelopment Commission in the City of Bloomington. This is a primary plat approval request. And then we also have SP 0222. This is a request from 424 Walnut LLC for site plan approval for a new multifamily development. We will get to both of those once we get through our housekeeping items. We don't have any minutes from the January 10th meeting to approve because that meeting was canceled. But did we ever approve minutes from the December meeting?
We did not, but you will see those next month.
Okay, so those will come next month. All right, so no minutes for approval tonight. I know we do have a number of things to deal with in terms of reports, but let's just start with staff. Do you have any reports, resolutions, or communications for us tonight, Jackie?
Sure, we've got a few. We need to do the appointments. And then we have, so that, sorry, it was listed as Bca appointment in the agenda. I forgot we haven't done any because we weren't here last month, so we will do them all. And then I will give a brief report on Ordinance 21-23, which you'll recall is the ordinance that was passed last year by council, allowing duplexes as a potential use in the R1 through R3 and triplexes in the R4 as conditional for all of those. So I'll have a brief report on that after we do appointments. Are you all ready to do appointments?
I know we can't wait.
Okay, I know, it's exciting times. Okay, so for the appointments, for those who are new, I will share, I sent an email today about who was serving on Plan Commission appointed boards or commissions last year for the calendar year 2021. Additionally, there are some appointments that are done outside of the Plan Commission. So I will be mentioning those as well. So I said in the email, sorry, a couple of little bit broader housekeeping things. We have a new council member appointed council member to be on the Plan Commission. That's Mr. Ron Smith. So Ron is here joining us now. Susan is off for the year. So welcome, Ron. And then we also have Tim joining us, Tim Ballard, who is our new mayoral appointed member. So welcome, Tim. And he is also the mayoral appointment to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So you'll recall that this group, you all will vote and send one of your own membership to be a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals. And then the mayor also picks one of you and appoints to the Board of Zoning Appeals. And so Tim is serving that function for the mayor. And then Karin, of course, has previously and is still on a board position for the BUEA that you all don't vote on, but has to be a Plan Commission member, and the mayor appoints that one as well. So she serves on that at the pleasure of the mayor as a plan commission member. So those are kind of existing, what people are doing because they're on plan commission. And then what we are looking for tonight is those that you all have to appoint. So what we did last year is kind of just start at the top. I will give you, I will go ahead and tell you what they all are, which is just kind of a little laundry list, and then we'll start with president and vice president. So we will do a roll call vote for each one after some discussion and then a motion because we are in Zoom world, so we can't do a voice vote. So it takes a little bit longer than other years potentially, but we'll try to be as expeditious as possible. We have president and vice president that need to be elected, and then a member serving on the Board of Zoning Appeals and an alternate for that member. Then we have a Platt Committee appointee as well as an alternate Platt Committee appointee. This board also votes for all of the other Platt Committee members, but we usually just do all of that in one vote. And then a County Plan Commission ex officio member who goes and serves a similar role to Tron does for us, bringing up issues that might be, in that case, city specific or county projects, and then an alternate there as well. And then you all also vote on the hearing officer and hearing officer alternate, which come from city staff. So to get started, we will go ahead and talk about president. As you saw earlier tonight, Mr. Whistler is our president and what has been for the last few, at least 2 years, maybe more. My memory isn't that great, but definitely 20 and 21. And I don't know, Brad, if you want to start out, if you're interested in serving, if you would like to step down, or if anyone else has any interest in stepping up, please feel free to say so.
I'm happy to continue serving. Also happy to let someone else take a turn if someone wants to step up, but I would just open the floor for nominations.
I
would like
nominate
to
Brad
support.
Whistler for president.
Second.
Okay, are there any other nominations? All right, well, seeing none, I guess we'll just, Jackie, do we need to take a,
You have to do a roll call vote
Roll call
because
on
of
each of
Zoom.
these?
Yeah, so Darla, if you could go ahead and do the roll call for Brad as president for 2022, that'd be great.
Okay,
thanks.
Burrell,
Yes,
Seymour, Herrera,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Ballard.
Yes.
Sorry, I accidentally turned myself off. Whistler, did you vote? Brad?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't vote, but I will vote yes.
Okay. Smith,
Yes, I'm sorry, my internet seems to
Okay.
be unstable right now.
Ballard,
Yes.
Cockrum,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
and St. John.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whistler, for stepping up to do that. Our next order of business will be for vice president, which last year and the year before, I believe was Jillian Kinsey. So Jillian, again, if you have interest or interest in not serving, please let us know. Or if anyone else has interest, please say so as well. Thank you.
I am interested in serving as long as no one else would like to wrest this role from me.
I nominate Jillian Kinsey for vice president.
Second.
All right, are there any other nominations? All right, seeing none, let's call the roll on approving Jillian Kinsey as vice president.
Smith,
Yes.
Herrera,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Whistler,
Yes.
St. John,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Cockrum,
Yes.
and Seaboard.
Yes.
Great. Thank you,
right.
Ms. Kinsey, for doing that.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you both. We're all excited. Next, we have our BZA appointment, and Flavia Burrell has been taking that position for you for at least the last 2 years as well. Flavia, I don't know if you are interested in continuing or not, if you'd like to say, or if anybody else was super interested in jumping on the BZA. I'm sure we'd like to hear about it now. Thank you.
Yes, I can serve on the BZA. Unless somebody else wants it.
I would love to nominate Flavia to continue to serve in the BZA role.
Second.
All right. Any other nominations for BZA? All right. Seeing none, let's call the roll on appointing Flavia to the BZA for another year.
Cockrum,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
St. John,
Yes.
Whistler,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Seaboard,
Yes.
Herrera,
Yes.
and Smith.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Flavia.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Burrell. We really appreciate that. As you all know from the list today and from your time serving, we also need an alternate for the Board of Zoning Appeals. That has been Mr. Whistler again for the last 2 or 3 years. I'm not sure how many you served on in 2021. I know you did one in 2020. I would guess not much more than that last year.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have not been very effective in my role there as alternate. I think I've only been able to make one of those meetings in the past several years. I'm happy to continue being the alternate, but with the caveat that my availability on short notice is usually pretty terrible. So if there's someone else, I think it might be in the best interest of the community to have someone else step up and be that alternate. It doesn't happen often, as Commissioner Burrell has been pretty diligent about her attendance. So happy to do it again if I'm the best option, but I'd like to believe that there might be a better option.
So as
anyone
Mr.
else?
Whistler said, Ms. Burrell doesn't miss very many of the meetings. So it really is kind of, you're just kind of a fail-safe in case for some reason that she did need to. People should be allowed to miss meetings and not have to, worry about having meetings be continued because of that. We are in a better position this year with having Mr. Ballard join and be the mayoral appointment to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So we're not always running at 4. Now we'll be at a full 5. So if you do think you have time, it's Thursday, usually the 3rd Thursday, week after Plan Commission at 5:30. And those meetings are not typically as long as Plan Commission meetings.
If it's permitted by my role on if it's allowed by my role on city council, I'd be happy to be the alternate.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. That's very kind. I don't think you are allowed to be on it. There's Mr. Rooker coming in.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Smith. Mike Rooker, City Attorney. Unfortunately, we went through this with your predecessor from the City Council last year, and we determined after a long conversation with Stephen Lucas that we couldn't do that. So I appreciate the willingness, but
Okay.
it's not an option.
That's why I like to hang out with all the professionals. They keep me out of trouble. So thank you.
So I will
Or anyone
say,
else?
this is one that's been empty in the past, or if Brad's the only one that is able or willing to do it, we'll just run as we have done before, and if he can do it, he will, and if he can't.
Is Commissioner Cockrum available or eligible to be an alternate?
I would be happy to serve. But I teach class at Kelly School on Thursday nights. So I just have a conflict on Thursdays.
Just trying to spread some love and responsibility here.
All right, well, let's maybe just spare the public the agony of dragging this out any longer. If y'all want to just appoint me as the alternate, I'll do it again and do the best that I can.
I promise not to miss.
All right.
All right, seems all right. So Brad, I'll nominate Brad as the alternate to the BZA.
Second,
Okay, I'll do the roll call.
All
Pereira,
right.
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Smith,
yes.
St. John,
Yes.
Whistler,
Yes.
and then Cockrum,
Yes.
Seaboard,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes,
and Ballard.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
What,
thank you very
what's
much.
next, Jackie? Do you have,
Next, we have Platt Committee. So Jillian was serving on the Platt Committee, and Susan was the alternate member of the Platt Committee. This body also appoints the other members of the Platt Committee. So once you all have decided who you're going to nominate, I will say who we are recommending, and if you want to nominate those individuals as well, we can do it as one.
I'm happy to keep serving on the Platt Committee, again, unless someone else would like that experience looking at utilities and thinking about Platt.
I've done it before. It's a lot of fun.
That committee meets at 4 p.m. on the same day as Plan Commission, just FYI. And they don't meet every month.
do we nominate
Anyway,
Jillian?
Yeah, so if we're, okay, so this is what I'll propose.
Mhm.
Just a second, sorry, they're on the screen up here. Sounds like it's gonna be Jillian. So is anyone interested in being the alternate? Ron, I don't know if you have availability on that day. This is a role that Susan used to fill, and I don't think I've ever had to actually attend. Jillian also doesn't miss meetings.
If I'm permitted to do it, you can put me on as alternate. I'm happy to be helpful. Sure.
Okay, so we'll just double check on that, but I think that one's okay. If not, then we'll let you know next month.
Sure.
So, thank you, great. So the membership proposal from staff would be Jillian as the Plan Commission member, Ron Smith as the alternate, and then Brian Blake from CBU with Phil Peden as the CBU alternate, and Roy Ayton from engineering with Patrick Durkis as the alternate.
all right. Can we have a motion for approval of that slate that staff has proposed?
I motion approval of that slate as proposed by staff.
Is there a second?
Second,
All right. Darla, would you please call the roll on the Platt Committee slate?
St. John,
Yes.
Herrera,
Who?
Herrera,
Oh, yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Seaboard,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Whistler,
Yes.
Cochran,
Yes.
and Burrell.
yes,
Thank you.
Great, thank
All
you.
right.
Next, we'll have County Plan Commission ex officio member. Beth Kate was doing that, and then Susan was the alternate there. So yeah, basically what Tron and Randolph does here, giving us comments from the kind of county perspective, you do in reverse at their Plan Commission. They meet twice a month. I believe it is the first and third Tuesday evenings of the month. The first is their administrative meeting, which is similar to our PC lunch, and then their hearing on the third week. And we have had that seat empty before, but we do try to fill it if anyone has availability. And obviously the two people who used to fill it aren't here anymore. So if anyone is interested, please let us know.
Is anyone willing to serve as our delegate to the County Plan Commission?
See any
Anyone?
takers? We can also discuss this at PC lunch, or if anyone's interested, shoot me an email and we can talk a little bit more about expected responsibilities for that role. If anyone is kind of on the fence, we don't have to do it right here and we can appoint next month. Does that sound okay to you, President Whistler?
That sounds fine to me, yes.
Okay, and so then we have two orders of business quickly left. One is hearing officer and hearing officer alternate. So that is a member of city staff. And so we are recommending Beth Rosenberger to continue as the hearing officer and Emily Herr to continue as the hearing officer alternate. She took over when Karina Passos joined the development services team.
All right, do we have a motion to approve those appointments?
A motion approval of hearing officer Beth Rosenberger and hearing officer alternate Emily Herr.
Second,
All right, thank you. Darla, would you please call the roll on that motion?
Burrell,
yes,
Cochran,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Seaboard,
Yes.
Pereira,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Whistler,
Yes.
and St. John.
yes.
Thank you.
Great, that's the
Okay.
last of the appointments. I just wanted to cover as well that this body does also send a member to the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization. Is that right? Sorry.
Yes.
And that is the president by rule. So that is Mr. Whistler. Historically, it's been at a time that he has not been able to attend, if I recall that correctly. And
That is
the
correct.
president is able to identify a proxy. It is important to have a member of this body there if it's possible for anyone's schedule. Andrew, you may have to remind us when that is. It's Friday during the day, I believe. So it's not ideal.
Yes.
It
it's-
is. And I've been going to those meetings as the proxy. And it's lengthy meetings, 1:30 to 3 is the appointed time, but so far none of them have ended at 3 p.m. So
It's a very large body, and so
It's a very large.
deliberations take a fair amount of time, but it is very, very important. I mean, it is quite a responsibility overseeing a lot of projects and a lot of money that make a big difference in the community. So, Commissioner Kinsey, are you interested in continuing, or are you looking for someone else to
If
take over.
someone else would like that perspective, it would be great. But if not, I'm willing to continue serving. You know, it's another one of those roles that I think I finally figured out kind of what its scope and what possible role I could play in it. And I also would wonder if it might be wise to have some more regular reports to this body from that group, just because I think there's, the way Jackie just described it is quite important. They manage a lot of state and large finance projects that affect us, including things that we've talked about and that intersect considerably with our work. So, I mean, I think it would be worth it to do a little more of an exchange of information with this body. But I'm happy to keep serving if that would be helpful as a proxy.
Right, I think that would be helpful. We don't have to decide for sure because this body doesn't vote. We don't have to decide tonight. So again, if anyone else, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you just like really want to be on the MPO, feel free to shoot an email to the group and we can discuss. But otherwise, it sounds like Ms. Kinsey is willing to do that, which is very helpful. We appreciate, and I know the MPO staff appreciates a lot too. I think Tron has.
Well, just, I guess the word proxy was used. I'm pretty sure the MPO is an alternate. It's not a proxy, and that's significantly different in your role. So I just wanted to point that.
No, it is in fact a proxy because by the statute,
Are you sure?
it does, the
I
statute
would
does
just
not give.
request that to be brought back up. We've had discussions of the county with their role with the MPO, and our understanding is it's an alternate, not a proxy. So I just, if I'm wrong, that's fine.
The statute says that it doesn't give the Plan Commission the authority to appoint a member. It says that the president of the Plan Commission is a member of the MPO. And so because I can't make those meetings, I've got to appoint someone as my permanent proxy for the term.
And if I'm wrong,
So we can add
I'm more uncomfortable than eating my words. We had that discussion. And so
I guess I don't really know what the difference is, but I'm sure Mr. Rooker will advise us appropriately on how to document the appointment there. So yeah, just let us let us know if you have an interest. If we don't hear from anyone else, then we'll move forward with appointing Commissioner Kinsey once again.
Great, yeah, so we'll double check that. Thank you so much, Commissioner Kinsey. And I just will say thank you to everyone. Just to make it clear, people watching from home, you know, this is a 9-member board. All of these 9 members do other things as members of this board. Everyone does, so serves on other committees and commissions and boards asked or requested by different bodies, including obviously Office of the Mayor. So thank you to everyone for your time serving with us. And with that, if you don't mind, President Whistler, I'll go ahead and go into my just short presentation about the ordinance update.
Yes.
Great.
Please do.
Okay, so we made a presentation last week at council. So we are giving a similar presentation here tonight. So you'll have, excuse me if you've heard this already. This is a report on Ordinance 2123. As you'll recall, with our many night meetings and discussions, they culminated in the council approving a change to the UDO related to duplexes and triplexes in spring of last year. And that was signed into law by the mayor in July of 2021. One of the stipulations of the ordinance that came out of Plan Commission, I believe, was that the Planning and Transportation Department would track requests and approvals for the uses amended by that ordinance and report those findings to Plan Commission, Administration, and Common Council every 6 months from the effective date. So the ordinance, as by way of reminder, made duplexes conditional in the R1, R2, and R3 zoning districts, and triplexes conditional in the R4. It also required that the conditional use approvals related to the R1 through R3 had to include a neighborhood meeting and be seen by the Board of Zoning Appeals as opposed to the hearing officer. The council also placed a 150-foot buffer around newly approved duplex dwellings, around which new approvals cannot be sought for a 2-year period. And they also placed a cap of 15 per year on use. So since the legislation was signed, the department has spoken with 9 property owners about doing possible duplexes in the R1 through R3. We started discussions with 4 other property owners before the legislation was finished, people who were just following along and interested. So a total of 13. 2 of those were stopped by the NOV provision that states you can't have a notice of violation or NOV on file with the Planning and Transportation Department for the last 3 years in order to be eligible for this conditional use. So again, 2 of those have been stopped by that. And we have not had any conditional use filings for duplexes in the R1 through R3 or triplexes in the R4 in the 6+ months, 6.5 months since the ordinance was passed. We have had 3 plexes approved in our residential multifamily or mixed use zoning districts since those came into the ordinance as an option in 2020. And we currently have 3 in discussion. We are expecting that some of those will probably be built this year as well. We wanted to give a little bit of context about development that we're seeing. So in the second half of 2021, which is roughly the lifespan since Ordinance 2023 was passed, we saw 246 applications for what are called certificates of zoning compliance. And that's our portion of a Monroe County Building Department building permit. And then in the second half of the previous year of 2020, we saw 348 of those requests, but 135 of those were for the new Trinitas project at 17th and Arlington. So subtracting that 135, still a comparable number. And then oddly, in each of the years 2019, 2018, and 2017, we saw exactly 211 requests each of those 3 years for the second half of the year. So we wanted to bring that up because we are wanting to point out that we are not seeing a slowdown in overall building requests. We just aren't seeing the onslaught of requests for this particular use that was feared by some, and we heard a lot in our meetings. When speaking with members of the public about potential plexes, we have identified a potential issue with the current regulations related to requiring separate utilities for each of the units in the R1 through R3 districts. That was included to ensure that each unit functions entirely separately, which seemed like could be beneficial for sale of those units separately, make that easier. We have heard anecdotally that there are owner-occupied duplexes in other communities that do share utilities. We aren't currently proposing any changes, but we just wanted to bring that to the attention of this body and to council as something that may be functioning as an unintended deterrent. And that is all I have. So if you guys have any questions or comments about the ordinance, I can answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Scanlon? Okay. Thank you, Jackie. Are there any other reports, resolutions, or communications from commissioners? Or other staff members, I suppose.
Sorry, I wasn't quick enough with my hand up. I do have a comment, if I might, about this. I'm really glad to hear that the staff are reporting and monitoring this per our deliberations and the requests of council. And I think it is really important that we honor that commitment to monitoring these requests and try and study the problem a little bit or study the issue. And I wonder if the staff has any comment on more about what you would have expected. I know, there's this joint concern about being overwhelmed with practically a bulldoze mentality that would start to operate. And it seems like, well, first, that hasn't happened clearly by the lack of requests. But I think the other concern is that this is not stimulating development either. So we're not making any, well, there's no change on either side of this possible concern or benefit. And I wonder if staff has an impression, or if you think it's best that we wait it out another 6 months and see what happens, or if there's a recommendation here that we might revisit this issue.
Sure, I'll say I do think it's still early. I think that can be seen from either side, as we saw in the conversation at council. As Jillian pointed out, some might say, obviously, this is overregulated because people aren't doing it, where others might say, well, it's only been 6 months, it's been winter, it's a new law, people don't kind of know how to address it yet. I think it's probably somewhere in the middle. When we first reported on ADUs, we didn't have very many. And we said, these should be by right, because that is deterring people. And once that change was made, we did see more. We don't have a lot. We never got the wave, that some people were concerned about. But we did see an increase. So I don't know if that's where this is going. I think it's still too early to have that conversation. Personally, I mean, it's just such a flashpoint in the community anyway, that making a report at 6 months, it's only been 6 months. So I think we would like to wait until July and see, and then maybe discuss with you all and the administration and council, do we think changes need to be made, or do we need to wait longer? Construction is not slowing down, development isn't being hindered by COVID or other things that people might think would be being a deterrent. So I think all things considered, we should be able to see whether or not movement is likely with this type of legislation after a year. I think that's pretty reasonable. So we'll just report back in a year and see if other people think that changes need to be made.
Thank you. I mean, I do think that it's a good check. I'm glad we had this 6 month check, and I think then it makes sense to wait and see what happens in the next 6 months. Thanks.
Thank you, Jackie. I think it would be great too at the next report if we could actually see those numbers on ADUs. And I mean, I know anecdotally we hear that the volume of requests has gone up since it became by right, but I would love to see that compared year over year, so we can really kind of pinpoint the impact of just that change in the permitted use.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I can say, that yes, we can do that. I don't want to give a number that's incorrect. We've permitted 25 of them total. So it's been about just under 5 years, I think. And it was kind of slow going at the beginning, but yeah, we can definitely get you those numbers.
Great. All right. Any other, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, President Whistler. I just wanted to ask Jackie if Ms. Scanlon, sorry, have we ever tracked the sales of existing properties to LLCs? And I know there's in the newspaper we have property transfers. Is there ever a tracking on that to see it as a leading indicator of perhaps people moving towards conversions, or is that not anything that the city staff does?
We have not tracked that. I will say anecdotally, we see hundreds of permits a year, and whether or not they're in an LLC, I would not say is a direct correlation to whether or not they're owner occupied or up for some sort of conversion. A lot of people use LLCs for various reasons, but no, that's not something we've tracked in the past, but something we could look at.
Does anybody track that in the city or city staff or the county staff or anybody that, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge. Track whether or not LLCs are a lead indicator for conversions to what?
The number of LLCs that are purchasing properties from individuals.
Oh, not that I know of. That's probably something you could get from the auditor or assessor's office. They could probably give you a pretty good list of that.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Scanlon. I appreciate it.
All right. Any other questions about the report on Ordinance 2123? All right, moving on. Any additional reports, resolutions, or communications? All right, we will get on to our agenda then. There are two petitions I should note that have been continued to the March meeting. These are PUD DP 2421. This is a request for final plan and preliminary plat amendment from Robert V. Shaw for property on the 3500 block of North Hackberry Street. And then the other is PUD 0322. This is a request for an amendment to the district ordinance and preliminary plan for an approval for a planned unit development. This is from Trinitas Ventures at 5550 North Arlington Park Drive. Those two petitions have been continued to March. So if you're here for those, I'm sorry you have to wait till next month. The two petitions we are going to hear tonight are DP 0122 from the Redevelopment Commission and SP 0222 from 424 Walnut LLC. So we'll start with DP 0122 and we'll just continue rolling here with Jackie Scanlon, who is going to present the case.
Commissioner Whistler, if
Yes.
I could interrupt, I'm going to excuse
yes.
myself. Yep, from the discussion of petition DP 0122 to avoid any appearance of conflict of interest with regard to parcels that directly abut the parcels in this petition. Maybe Mr. Rooker can tell me what he wants me to do, or you can, but I think if I completely exit the Zoom meeting, I won't know when to come back. Can I just stop my video?
Yeah, I think that's probably, if we were doing this live, you would probably just leave the dais and sit in the audience. And so I think you could probably do the same here, just kill your video and listen in and rejoin
Great.
when we're done with this conversation.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. I think we're ready to proceed. Go ahead, Jackie.
Great, thank you. All right, so our first two petitions tonight is, let's see here, DP 0122. This is a request for a primary plat from the Bloomington Redevelopment Commission. This is property known as Phase 1 East. It is southwest of downtown, located directly east of the old Bloomington Hospital location. You can see here in the red on the picture to the right. This site is roughly 8.65 acres. The large majority of the site is zoned MM, mixed use medium scale, with some mixed use neighborhood scale on the southern portion along First Street. The comprehensive plan designation is mixed urban residential, and this is located in the West 2nd Street, former Bloomington Hospital focus area. And as you can see from the aerial, it currently has a number of existing buildings and surface parking lots on the site. So the proposal before you tonight, as I said, is a primary plat request. The site location east of the old hospital is bounded by West 2nd Street to the north, South Rogers Street to the west, West 1st Street on the southern end, and South Morton on the east side. The request is to subdivide the property to create 16 parcels. You can see them delineated here and numbered as well, and to adjust some existing right-of-way that is located on the eastern side of the parcel as alleys now, to reconfigure that into two roadways that you see bisecting this square north-south and east-west. So the parcels would be split in this configuration, and the two parcels here in green, parcel 2 and 6, would be set aside for some open space that is designed for this area. This area is part of the hospital redevelopment master plan. So the Bloomington Hospital Site Redevelopment Master Plan that was released in January of last year incorporated the idea of redevelopment on this site, including those two lots to be used as green infrastructure open space. And then the two blue lots, lots 3 and 4, and the southwest portion of the site would be retained for use by Centerstone. So one is owned by the county government and the other is owned by Centerstone. All of the buildings that you saw on the aerial would be demolished except for the large Centerstone building along South Rogers, and then the smaller Centerstone building at the corner of Rogers and First Street. So the remaining parcels that you can see in this image would be the 12 remaining parcels would be slated for redevelopment. So those could be redeveloped separately as shown here, or combined for redevelopment across parcel lines if necessary. So as I said, 2 new rights-of-way reconfigurations are proposed. One is an east-west right-of-way street to run adjacent to those open space parcels that I mentioned. That would be called West University Street. So if you look at a larger map of the city of Bloomington, this created street is in the natural position of that University Street is in on the east side of town, in between 2nd and 1st. So this would be named West University Street. And then the north-south would be a continuation of Madison Street. As I mentioned before, there are existing alleys. You can see here with these yellow arrows that exist now on the site, platted alleys. So those will need to be vacated by the city council, by common council, in order for this subdivision to be platted. Obviously, you can see that it wouldn't make much sense to have an alley so close to a new and improved north-south thoroughfare. So the petitioner will be taking a request to common council to vacate that north-south alley that runs from 2nd to 1st, and that east-west alley that's on the eastern third of the site. So the proposed primary plat meets the requirements of the UDO. It's basically the first step in the redevelopment of this area now that the hospital has relocated. It is in line with the Bloomington Hospital Site Redevelopment Master Plan, and the intention is to set up Phase 1 East with improved public ways and new amenities, and creating parcels that can be developed separately or combined in the future to help this area redevelop. The Planning and Transportation Department recommends that the Plan Commission adopt the proposed findings and approve the primary plat of DP 122 with the following conditions: that a pedestrian facilities plan for West 2nd Street and South Rogers Street that meets transportation plan requirements shall be shown. A pedestrian facilities plan for West 1st and South Morton that meet the transportation plan requirements shall be shown. That the right-of-way vacation I mentioned for the existing alleys on the petition site must be approved by common council. That secondary plat approval be delegated to staff, and that right-of-way dedication for South Rogers Street must either meet the minimum widths for transportation plan with future subdivision on the west side of Rogers or receive waiver approval from the reviewing body at that time. As you know, our subdivision rules require certain improvements in the right-of-way are based on our transportation plan. Our transportation plan does give some leeway to staff when areas are already developed and things may or may not fit. So we will be working with engineering staff and planning and transportation staff to make sure that these requirements are met. And I can answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions? Well, I guess I should ask, is there anyone from the petitioner that would speak to this as well? Or are you presenting on behalf of?
There is some, I believe that Mr. Matthew Wallace is going to present from Shrewsbury on behalf of the petitioner.
Ah, okay.
Hi,
Welcome.
thank you. May I share my screen?
I think yeah, you should be able to.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, can you see my first slide there?
We
No,
cannot.
here we go.
Almost.
Oh, here it goes.
Here we go. Let me drag my,
Yeah, we got it now.
okay. Thank you. So, as was mentioned, my name is Matt Wallace, and I'm with Shrewsbury and Associates, and I'm the lead designer. Excuse me, I'm leading the design team for this project. This first graphic that I'm showing you is just an excerpt from the Bloomington Hospital Reuse Master Plan. The image on the left is the overall fully developed plan for the entire project. And the image on the right is just the Phase 1 East portion. So just wanted to share that to bring that back to mind. So this next graphic is again just showing what was in the staff report with our site plan shown with it. So we would have essentially 3 areas that are in blue that would be for developable lots. The shaded in green is what the master plan called the greenway amenities, and would include the proposed University Street, and then at the lower left, in sort of the orangey tan color, that's the Centerstone with their reconfigured parking lot. This graphic is showing a better view of the University Street and the greenway amenities. So that street will be constructed in cobblestones, and we'll have two 10-foot travel lanes in each direction, east and west, and it has parallel parking on the north side. In front of the Centerstone building, it will have angled parking to increase the amount of available parking for both Centerstone and the folks using the greenway amenities. To the east of Madison Street, then we just have the parallel on the north side, and then a wider tree lawn and sidewalk to the south. And then at the far east end, we have another flush intersection with Morton Street and a larger, more grand connection to the B line. This is a perspective view showing, so we're kind of hovering above Rogers Street. North is kind of to the left here. This is looking at the proposed University Street and that wetland garden that would be on the north side, and the future development buildings to the back. This is moving down to the east, so we're seeing the intersection of University Street and the extension of Madison, and there's the tree grove, the south end of the low end of the wetland garden, and then again you can see the new development, future buildings in the background. And then this is taken from the perspective of, we're sort of above the Kroger store looking back toward the west. So you're seeing that intersection with Morton Street and the improved connection to the B line. And so we think this really ties in very nicely here. And then looking at the plat itself, this is a blow up and color coded thing. So again, lots 2 and 6 are to stay owned by the city, and those will have the greenway amenities on them. The yellow lots 1A and 1B, would be platted, and likewise on the north side of lot 6, we have 7A, 7B, 7C. And we really wanted to create these lots so that we give flexibility to developers that they could buy the entire lot, or they could just buy a portion. And this would allow staff to make lot line adjustments and not force someone to have to replat the whole lot. On the south side, again, you can see the lot 3 in the lighter blue. That is what is currently owned by the county, and it will stay as such. And lot 4 is what will go to be Centerstone, and so that has mainly their parking on it. And then the pinkish lots 5A through 5G those we broke up even smaller, just to give more flexibility to developers of every size to be able to come in and look at being able to participate in this project and be there. So that is my little walk through. I could say I would be glad to field questions. We also have Cecil Penland with REA, who has done the design work for the Greenway, leading that team. And we also have Mary Krupinski, who is our liaison person with the city on this project. And we have Jeff Fanyo, who's the surveyor dealing with the planning. So if you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Are there any questions from commissioners, either for staff or for the petitioner at this point? Commissioner Smith, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wallace, or whoever wants to answer it, the pedestrian walkway, if the ensuring safety access in and out of for pedestrians and vehicles, can you speak to the lighting and the safety aspects of that for me? Thank you.
Well, I'm not sure if this is Cecil, if you would want to jump in. This will be lit as a normal street, correct? I mean, that's what we've had in the plan all along, and we will have street lighting plus additional lighting on the Greenway amenities too.
Okay, I just wanted to ask that question. And I figured it probably would be there, but.
Well, and we are working together with the Parks Department folks to make sure that this is meeting their goals and requirements and things for safety. And public safety is paramount in all of our projects. Sure. But like I said, this will have, I believe we will have bollard lighting for the pedestrians, and then street lighting as you would for a normal street.
Yeah, Matt, just to jump in, we're looking at a combination of lighting types along the University Street itself. We'll have poles with luminaires, some that will be focused on the pedestrian walks, some that will be focused on the roadway, and some that will be focused more inwardly towards the Greenway amenities. And then that happens within both blocks, but in the eastern block where we have the more programmed elements, we have additional lighting like string lighting, catenary lighting. There'll be accent lighting on some of the site features. So it should be very well lit, not to mention the ambient light that we'll get once development occurs, which is obviously down the road, but it will be very well lit.
Well, thank you for responding to those questions.
Certainly.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Kinsey.
I have two questions. The first one is just about the, I don't remember all of the aspects of the whole master plan for this space. And I wonder if you could clarify for me, is this the main Greenway that's part of the larger plan? So is this the kind of the largest Greenway expected or planned within this development as a whole? Or is this just the phase 1 east entryway?
So, and let me jump back to the very beginning, and I can kind of zoom in a little bit. So this lot is our phase 1. And so to the west, across Rogers Street, where the hospital currently sits, when that gets, when that's, that next phase would also have a Greenway type amenity continuation of this whole thing. So there are more wetland gardens. There's a lot more trees, a lot more. So this is, I would say, the first half of the overall. And then on the other side of Rogers to the west, that's where the second half of that would come into play. But there's, you can see there's a lot of new green space. But I'd say as far as that greenway and that park-like feel, we're just doing the first half, and then the rest of it will continue once the hospital building is down.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. It's good to see it in its whole, or at least its expected whole, in
Yes.
addition to the phases. And then one other question, one of the earlier diagrams, and I can't remember if it was part of Jackie Scanlon's presentation. I think it was, but it's on Second Street, the northwest corner is just kind of a blank space. And I wonder if you could clarify what is that? Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Here?
Yes.
That is a parcel that the city has not received a response from the owner in requesting to talk about purchasing it. The city did not receive a response.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll jump in that. So that northwest corner, sorry, I meant to say this at the beginning of the presentation. The northwest corner and then the southeast corner are both privately held with no immediate plans of turning those over to the city. So it's all of this area minus those two edge corners.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Is the expectation to continue to pursue those to make it more integrated, or it will just be left up to those property owners to make their decision, and that's completely up to them?
Patrick Nergus with the engineering department. I believe the city is in discussions with the private owner for the lot at Rogers and Second Street in the southeast corner. That is privately held, and it is our understanding they have no interest in selling it.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Yeah, thank you.
All right, are there additional questions from commissioners? Not seeing any. Okay, we'll go then to public comment. If you are here, would like to make public comment, please click on the reactions button at the bottom of your screen, and then click on that raise hand button, and we will try to recognize you as best we can in the order that we see your hand raised. If you have trouble with that button, you can also feel free to just send a chat message to myself or to Jackie Scanlon. We'll try to recognize you. And when it is your turn, you'll have 5 minutes to comment. So we will begin now public comment on BP 122.
You can go ahead, Mr. Binder. You should be able to unmute.
And I should say too, when you are recognized, please state your name for the record. Sometimes I know we've got names on Zoom, but they don't always match up with the person who's speaking. So please state your name for the record before you begin your comment.
Hi, sure. This is Eobon Binder. Hope you can all hear me. I just had a few small comments. I think generally this is looking pretty good so far. I live nearby in Prospect Hill, so I've got a personal interest in this this entire redevelopment. Just a few quick discussion points. First, I just want to say I really hope the commission does give this a lot of scrutiny, just because this has pretty long-term implications. Every aspect of this project is going to be around for a while. So I really hope that the commission takes it upon itself to just really look at this very, very carefully, because even sometimes little details can have far-reaching implications. So to that, I want to mention just a couple things, maybe questions, maybe just things for you all to consider. The reverse angle parking on the south side of University Street. I think this is just my observation. A greenway is, I think we would all agree, is intended to be a street that's like kind of putting pedestrians and cyclists, non-automotive transit first, or at least alongside. So I really question the presence of the angle parking on a greenway. I just don't think it really should be there if we're going to call it a greenway. I think it's fine that Centerstone has parking. And if you look at the overhead views, they do have plenty of parking. They have a parking lot to the east, to the south, and they have street parking on both of those sides of the block too. So that's plenty of parking for Centerstone, I think. They don't need reverse angle parking also on this part of the one part of the project that we're calling a greenway. Let's just get rid of it. I don't know if that's something you're able to work on tonight, but that's something I really hope happens, because honestly, once that angle parking is there, it's going to stay. We're never going to get rid of it. It's always going to be there on this greenway. Another thing I wanted to comment on was this, and this is just a kind of more of a question, dedicating right of way rather than platting these two lots for the Parks Department to develop, these nice looking features, water feature and so on. I'm just kind of more curious than any other reason. I'm wondering why that isn't just kind of dedicated as like city owned right of way instead of a lot. If it's supposed to be part of the street anyway, is it going to feel more like a separate, actual development lot, parcel, park, or is it going to actually kind of feel like part of the street space? I just kind of wonder about that. And then the final thing I wanted to mention is lot sizes. I was really pleased to hear Mr. Wallace from Shrewsbury mention that a developer could come in and purchase, a smaller amount of the lot if they wanted to. I just kind of do question, though, whether like how much that's really going to happen, or if we're really just going to see one big developer come in and they're going to want to essentially buy the entire block. If we want neighborhood development scale here in this project, neighborhood scale development, I really think we need to think about encouraging smaller, what a lot of people call more granular development patterns, which involve generally like narrower buildings. And that gives opportunities for a wider variety of people to take ownership in the project, small developers to come in. And again, I'm not saying that won't happen here or can't happen. I mean, I was really glad to hear about the opportunity that small developers might have to purchase just one small part of this parcel. But if that's kind of what we want to aim for, which I think is kind of the intent of what we say we want in the master plan, then we should encourage that. And we should actually plot this with smaller lots to begin with. And then if a big developer does come in with a really compelling project and the city's like, wow, this is awesome, let's give them several lots, then, we can always do that. So I just think we should come from the other direction on it to begin with, if we want. And I think almost everybody would say like neighborhood scale development that kind of fits in with the surrounding area is what we want. And if you look at how the historic patterns of development in the city have, taken place in the first 100 years of the city, it tended to start with smaller, narrower lots, which encourage, smaller buildings, not necessarily shorter buildings, but because, there are tall, narrow buildings out there. But just, offering that as a kind of an option up front to sort of inherently encourage that as part of the plat. So that's all I'll say. Sorry, I was talking to you so much, but I hope the other commission gives all of those points some thought.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to make public comment on BP 122? I don't see any other raised hands. We'll give another minute, just in case there's someone trying to connect. See no hands and no chat messages. All right, last call for public comment on BP 122. All right, we'll come back to the commission for any additional questions, final comments, or a motion on DP 122. We'll start with Commissioner Cochran.
Just to follow up on Mr. Binder's comments, has anyone, and I'm not sure who would answer this, so Jackie, you might direct it to someone, but has anyone spoken to Centerstone or any of the neighbors on the parking needs that they currently have or think they might have in the future?
Sure, I think I'll direct that to Mr. Durkis in engineering.
Thank you. Yes, Patrick Durkis, city engineering. We have been working with Centerstone extensively on this project and their parking needs. If in the original graphic of the master plan shown at the beginning of Shrewsbury's presentation, you could see on the lot on the southeast corner, there was actually a standalone parking lot that was originally part of this master plan that was planned for Centerstone and their parking needs. Because of UDO requirements and also just vision of the overall site, that parking was removed from the master plan, reducing Centerstone's overall parking. During the master planning process, the Centerstone's parking was a large topic of conversation. And I know the angled parking has been in the master plan. Engineering changed it to back-end angle parking to improve pedestrian safety along the greenway. But I was hoping that Mary Krupinski, who was part of the master plan, could provide us a little bit of background regarding the selection of the angle parking on the greenway. Mary, if you're available. Oh, there you are.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Just takes a little bit to unmute in this process. Thank you. Mary Krupinski with Kirkwood Design Studio. Yeah, it's really a matter of mitigating a lot of the existing condition of Centerstone being in place, as well as navigating the new need for pedestrian way versus the need that Centerstone has for the number of clients that they receive on a daily basis. So it's really about, getting to some numbers, and we have, short-term and long-term needs to meet with that. And so that's more for daily parking of clientele coming into the facility.
Great. Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Kinsey.
Yes, I'd like to follow up on the two other questions that I think Mr. Binder raised. One is about clarifying the lots for the park and what the decision-making was or what informed the way they're currently allotted there. Can someone discuss that maybe? I don't know, Jackie Scanlon, maybe?
Again, I would probably send that to Mr. Durkis, as he was kind of a part of those conversations about why that decision was made for parcels as opposed to right of way.
So parks, almost all of the city parks, I believe all of them, but I don't want to say absolutely, are on their own parcels. Even when adjacent to city right of way, the right of way does not extend into those parcels. A great example is like Bryan Park, for example. The pedestrian pathways are not in city right of way, but those are the north, south, east, west connections of sidewalk connections in that area. And the other part is, other than this is how Parks does all their parcels, it also is defining ownership and responsibilities. The public right of way would be Public Works and their maintenance responsibilities. A park would then be Parks and Recreation, and that would be their parcel and define their responsibilities. And then also another wrinkle that's unusual to this one is also all of the stormwater collection for all of the parcels for this entire site, except for the Centerstone parcel, is actually going to be included in this greenway amenity. There's underground detention tanks, and also the wetland feature will also store stormwater. And so each development lot, as they come in, will not need to create their own stormwater system, won't need detention basins or underground storage. It's all going to be on these parcels. And so part of that is also the maintenance of that detention system and how that will be done. And that is still something that's being discussed, but that's the reason why we moved these as separate parcels and kept them this way. And then this wasn't exactly your question, but Mr. Binder mentioned it, the interconnectedness between that and the street. On the ground, you will not see a defined line or anything like that. We've picked a line that works well with some of the amenities. The south face of the wetland garden is basically the right-of-way line there. And then we just continued that straight along, and it maybe hits a kind of funny in a few spots, but it's not, you won't see like a straight break or anything like that. The materials and everything will continue between the two, the right-of-way and also the private parcel. Well, not private parcels, but the Parks and Rec parcels.
Thank you for that. And can we address the other question too? That was part of Mr. Binder's comment about the decision to make the lot sizes as they are and not make them smaller. What informed that decision?
So the main thought was providing options for different size developers. And so in the southeast corner is where we decided to provide nearly the minimum size allowable for this zoning. 5,000 square feet's the minimum. I believe they're all around 6,000 square feet, depending on how they all broke out. Like, for example, the lot, I believe it is maybe 7E, the one in of the southeast corner, the southwest corner of that is, I believe, basically the minimum. And so the thought was to, very much to Mr. Binder's point, to communicate to small developers that there are options here. And that's really why we chose those small lots. And then the larger lots are to kind of our thought is communication of what is possible here. And I think the biggest part is that it just gives us flexibility. We can do lot line adjustments depending on what developers come in and do. And so as we talked with more developers after these lots are able to be sold, we'll get a better feel for what's going to come in here. But the southeast corner is very much set up to show our desire for developers of all sizes in this area.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Kinsey. Are there any other questions? Commissioner Burrell.
So I see the lot sizes. What is the zoning for the lots? So
Sure.
are we talking about, in the southeast corner, is that single family home or is it multifamily?
It's all mixed use. So the almost all of the parcels are mixed use medium scale. I believe the parcel that's immediately on First Street, 5G, that's at the northeast corner of Madison and First would be MN, mixed use neighborhood scale, but then the rest of the small lots would all be mixed use medium scale. So they are all intended to be mixed use or commercial, so not intended for single family use in this area.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Are we ready for a motion? As a reminder, the staff recommendation is that the commission adopt the proposed findings and approve the primary plat of DP 122 with 5 conditions that you see on the screen now. Someone like to make a motion?
Yes, I'm willing to. I'll move to, let's see, approval of DP 1-22, the Redevelopment Commission City of Bloomington, to adopt the proposed findings and approve it with the 5 conditions listed.
All right.
Should say approve the
Thank you. Is
primary
there-
plat. Yeah, with the following conditions. Sorry.
All right, the motion is to adopt the proposed findings and approve the primary plat with the 5 conditions listed in the packet and on the screen. I don't believe there's any difference between the packet and what we're seeing on the screen right now. So we have a motion. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Darla, would you please, is there any final comment before we call the roll?
And I'll just say, I'm so excited to see this come forward and to see the lot sizes small, and the encouragement for small parcels is great. I think that's wonderful. If we can communicate that and actually get some small scale development, that would be wonderful. I really appreciate the thought put into the stormwater retention, and that is an incredible benefit to developers. So I want to acknowledge the good city planning on that, and what a benefit that is both to the community in terms of making sure that we're taking care of our stormwater in very deliberate ways that are much more integrated than if this were up to each developer to figure it out. So I appreciate that. And I think it really is a benefit to developers to know that that is being done with the care that Patrick Durkis described. So I really appreciate that. Lots of good thinking in this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other final comments? All right. Darla, would you please call the roll on the motion to approve DP 122?
Okay. Seabour,
Yes.
Herrera,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Whistler,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Cockrum,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
and then St. John is not voting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. The motion passes and DP 122 is approved. Our second and final petition this evening is SP 02-22. This is a petition from 424 Walnut LLC, request for site plan approval. And we have Karina Pazos to present. Take it away, Karina.
Okay. Okay. Hi, everyone. So this location is for the site at 424 South Walnut Street. It's located between West 2nd Street and West Smith Avenue, and it's on the west side of Walnut. The lot is 0.27 acres. Its current zoning is mixed use downtown with a downtown core overlay district. It's designated downtown in the comprehensive plan, and its existing land use is vacant because this used to be the Players Pub, which was demolished in March of 2021. So the proposed land use is multifamily, and its surrounding land uses include multifamily to the north, personal service also to the north and east, and office space to the south, and then a medical clinic to the west. So the petitioner is requesting a major site plan approval for a 4-story building with 3 floors of residential units for a total of 34 dwelling units. And those units consist of 20 studios and 14 one-bedrooms over a ground floor parking garage that will contain 18 parking spaces, bike storage, a fitness room, and a leasing office for tenants. And a major site plan approval is required because this development does go over the 15,000 square footage of gross floor area. The proposal consists of 4 stories for a total of 35,632 square feet of gross floor area. So this first floor plan shows the parking spaces with a 24-foot of front setback for that parking behind the primary front wall. And so that space contains the leasing office, the fitness room, a lobby, and access to the upper floors. You can also see there is a drainage easement on the northern portion of the lot, and an alley along the south side of the lot where the entrance to the parking garage is located. The eastern side of the lot has the main entrance to the building for pedestrians, and the right-of-way there was previously improved, so that offers a wide sidewalk and space for a landscape plaza. And the front elevation shows the materials being proposed, a mix of brick and stone. It also shows the 5-foot recessed main entrance and the non-residential ground floor that meets the 12-foot minimum height. And you'll also notice the balconies that overhang the northern portion of the lot where the drainage easement is. And this elevation also shows the lot that it also shows that the lot has an average surface grade of 4 foot 6 inches. And so the spot height of the building is 54 feet 6 inches. But so the proposed building is right at the 50-foot maximum for the zoning district. And this building section shows the 3 floors of apartments above the ground floor and the relationship to the balconies and to the existing culvert and drainage easement. The north elevation shows the 15-foot required step back over the 3rd floor, which the petitioner is proposing to hold a patio space for tenants above the 3rd floor. It also shows the pattern of alternating balconies that allow for enough vertical space to access the drainage easement as the surface grade slopes upward. And the south elevation shows the parking garage entrance and relationship to the westbound alley that slopes upward as well as you access the back of the lot. The west elevation shows the usage of similar materials as the other sides of the building. And in this perspective, you can see the proposed building's relationship to the adjacent alley and buildings, as well as the space for the landscape plaza to contain 2 street trees, bike racks, benches, and additional landscape plaza amenities. And here's another perspective showing the drainage easement area. So for the site plan review, the proposal demonstrates compliance with the setbacks and impervious surface coverage. For the environmental portion, there is an existing 18-foot wide drainage easement on the northern portion of the lot. And the petitioner is proposing to build south of that drainage easement. For bike parking, 9 spaces are required, and the proposal includes 16 bike parking spaces. For landscaping, a minimum of 1 canopy tree per 40 feet of property that abuts a public right-of-way is required, and the proposal includes 2 street trees along South Walnut Street. The city's urban forester will need to be consulted about the species of the street trees that can be utilized for the development. And a landscape plan that includes the downtown core overlay district landscape plaza requirements will be required. For the access, the proposal derives access from the one-way westbound alley, which is access from South Walnut Street. The city engineer will need to be consulted about any necessary signage for the one-way alley. And the proposal consists of 18 vehicle parking spaces, and the minimum vehicle parking requirements do not apply to the development in the Courthouse Square area or the downtown core character area south of 4th Street, which the site is in the downtown core character area south of 4th Street. So the proposal does meet parking space total requirements. And lastly, for the architecture portion of the review, the proposal includes a mix of masonry, metal panel, and wood composite, which are permitted materials in this district. The exterior facades of the building incorporates wall elevation projections, a regular pattern of glass, and changes in facade color and texture to comply with the pattern's requirements of the UDO. The flat roof features parapets on supporting walls to meet the roof design requirements, and a 15-foot building step back above the 3rd floor that is incorporated to meet the upper floor facade step backs requirement. So in conclusion, this petition meets all requirements of the UDO and will add 34 new dwelling units near other high density uses and amenities. The development will provide housing in an area where housing is common and can connect the Courthouse Square with Indiana University. The scale of this development is appropriate for the neighborhood, and given other recent developments and proximity to the Courthouse Square and Indiana University, this is an ideal location for this type of land use. So the Planning and Transportation Department recommends that the Plan Commission adopt proposed findings and approve SP-02-22 with the following conditions. 1, the petitioner must receive a grading permit before any earth moving on the site. 2, the petitioner must consult the city's urban forester about the species of UDO-approved street trees which can be utilized with this development. 3, the petitioner must consult the city engineer about installing any necessary signage indicating that the alley is westbound only. 4, this approval does not approve any signage on the site. And we heard from CBU today, and so added this last condition, which is that the petitioner must sign an encroachment agreement for the balconies that overhang the drainage easement and any seating or planters that are installed in that drainage easement. Yeah, so does anyone have any questions, or are there any slides I should go back to?
Thank you, Ms. Pazos. Is there a representative of the petitioner that would like to add anything to the presentation?
Karina, do you know who's going to speak? Or someone raise their hand? I don't know. Try Matt Ellenwood.
Yeah, this is Matt Ellenwood with Matt Black Architecture. I thought Tim Hansen was on, but I can go ahead. Briefly.
We'll try Tim there. See if you should be able to unmute.
I'm unmuted now. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Tim Hansen with WS Property Group. I think Karina really covered all the bullet points of the petition. It's pretty simple, a 3-story residential over a parking field with some buffering up front for the streetscape and pedestrian areas. We have kind of ample space pedestrian wise in front from the improvements that the city made 3-4 years ago on Walnut Street. And the architecture, Matt can speak to any specifics or questions you may have about that. But we tried to integrate mostly brick with some stone accents and some architectural metal panels to give some interest above. And with that, I'll keep it brief because the explanation that Karina gave was so thorough. If you have any questions, I'd be willing to answer those.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions from commissioners, either for Ms. Pazos or for the petitioner? Commissioner Kinsey, go ahead.
I have a specific question, and if someone could walk me through either Karina Pazos or perhaps the petitioner about entry and exit to the parking facility. I'm trying to think about the one-way access from Walnut and then the westbound alley as exit. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about just the traffic flow and what you're imagining in terms of people exiting from the parking garage area. And then I'd also love to hear from their city engineer a little bit about any westbound alley signage that's required or any concerns about what that presents.
I'll start with our access will be obviously from Walnut, having 2nd Street just south of us will allow us to use the lights at 2nd and College and 2nd and Walnut to circulate traffic around to, if you will, the entry off of Walnut Street that will come in the alley, access the garage. That way we don't have a garage accessing through a pedestrian way directly onto Walnut, and that can exit out through College. West and southbound traffic can continue either west or south at the College and 2nd Street light, or they can utilize the light for a left turn onto 2nd Street and then either go east on 2nd or continue and use the left turn lane on Walnut to turn left and go north.
I guess I can jump in from a city engineering perspective. I think likely what we would see at this alley is a one-way sign or two, just indicating that it's a one-way flow, potentially one across from their driveway to the alley, just to remind people as they pull out to exit the correct way. But really, I think from a traffic flow perspective, the biggest benefit here is actually for the sidewalk users that'll be walking along Walnut Street, knowing that the building goes right up to the corner of where the sidewalk is and where that accessible route is. It really poses a visibility challenge for people. So the one-way flow really works to our benefit here to address a safety concern. And that's why I have to assume that city code was set up this way in this location.
Thank you for that. And I wonder if someone could explain to me the need for the new condition 5. It's not entirely clear to me what CBUs is trying to resolve or address. With that, sorry if that might catch somebody off guard, but I'm just trying to understand what is it that the concern is, that any sort of overhang is not going to, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take a shot at that. We've had a couple conversations with CBU regarding the balconies, because right now the edge of our building, or I'll back up, the drainage easement that exists, that's on the 18 feet of the north part of the property, is an old culvert that was a box culvert that was approximately 12 to 15 feet wide and approximately 3 to 4 feet deep. Through city drainage projects, they have relocated, if you will, drainage in the area. So and I can't tell you the date of it, but they downsized the drainage in the area. So now there is a 3-foot diameter pipe that runs through the middle of this large box culvert, and that's all the drainage that goes through there now. And the reason they did that was because the Players Pub building was built over this drainage box culvert. So the building sat over this on a big slab. So when they did the work, they put the 3-foot diameter pipe through the box, and they filled it all with lightweight concrete. So the only thing that goes really through the box is this 3-foot diameter pipe and carries the drainage flow from this area because other areas had been relocated. So in our work that we'll be doing on the site, there's still an easement. There's still a pipe there that CBU is going to need to maintain access to for maintenance. We had proposed 5-foot balconies to have a place to walk outside exterior from the unit to have some fresh air. And that encroaches, if you will, on that physical area by about 2 feet. Now it's 13 feet above the ground. And so we were asking CBU if there was concern about height in that area, if they felt that was adequate for them to maintain their facilities there or not. We hadn't heard back from them until this meeting, and obviously what they're putting together is, should we continue to want this 5-foot balcony, to sign an encroachment agreement, which I assume will read something to the effect that if they would need to get in there and the balcony's in their way, we have to put it back, remove it and put it back at our cost. That would be my guess. So that's why the condition came up. And if we put any facilities in place, because this drainage runs from west to east. And then if you look on the screen at the northeast corner, there's kind of a dash line that turns to the southeast with a circle and a square in it. So that's a junction in the storm system that deviates this flow to the southeast to a structure in the road. So I think what they're suggesting, should there be any improvements like a bench that is in this space, that we need to sign an encroachment agreement, again, for the same purpose. Should the city need to dig up and maintain this, they would probably not replace our bench or improvements that we did.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Commissioner Seabour, I see your hand raised.
Thanks. Yeah, just as we are looking at this overview site plan, it caught my attention that on the north side of this parcel, on the Walnut Street frontage, you can start to see looks like a driveway cut for the property that ultimately serves immediately north of here. And as I look at aerials, it looks like their driveway almost encroaches onto this parcel slightly. And I was just curious if the petitioner has is this a part of the existing easement, or is there agreements in place? Or it just was a question of curiosity.
From what I've seen on the plan, the driveway encroaches on the parcel. There's nothing on our concern because it's encumbered by the easement. The only thing that we really need to do in the area, and what we've talked to CBU about, is that when the building was raised, the slab, if you will, that covered this box structure was left in place. And we've talked to CBU that we will remove that slab so that they'll still maintain cover on their facilities that they have in place, but it'll allow us to have a reasonable depth of topsoil to put grass back on. So the fact that the encroachment exists isn't a concern of ours.
Thank you.
All right, are there any other questions from commissioners? Commissioner Smith, go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. May I ask this question? Is there an estimated lifespan of the building?
I'd have to throw out to Matt if he's got a suggested lifespan. I think a general lifespan of all new construction is probably 50 years.
Thank you.
All right, any additional questions from commissioners? All right, seeing none, we'll go to public comment then. We'll go to public comment on SP 02-22. If you'd like to make comment, just click on that reactions button at the bottom of your screen and click the raise hand button. If you have any trouble finding that, you can also just send a chat message to myself or to Jackie Scanlon, and we will try to recognize you in the order that your hand is raised. Let's see here.
Should be able to go ahead, Mr. Biden. Okay.
Hello. Yeah, just wanted to make a couple quick comments about that drainage easement. I understand why it's there. And actually, I don't think this is really the petitioner's fault, but I do think that, there ought to be something there. I don't see why there couldn't be something there just because there's a drain pipe underground. That doesn't mean there couldn't be something put there. Another bike rack or a bench or, some planter boxes or I don't know, something. It just seems a bit odd that there's, there's drain pipes all over the city, but we don't say, oh, you can't put anything over top of any drain pipe just because someday CBU might have to dig there. That just seems ridiculous. And again, I think this is not the petitioner's fault because they're dealing with this utility easement. But I think it's kind of on the incumbent upon the city to maybe come up with something. If they're going to make sure the petitioner doesn't build anything there, then the city should put something there, or they should allow the petitioner to put something there, an amenity of some sort to make use of that space. Because, as far as I can tell from the rendering, it's just going to basically be concrete, or actually, I don't even know. I can't even figure out what the surface is, if it's going to be like a walkway or kind of next to the alley or grass or what. So I would love to hear the commission's thoughts on that. Otherwise, I think this seems like a pretty good project. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make public comment on SP 02-22?
I don't have any.
I don't see any. Okay, last call for public comment. If you want to make comment, click the reactions button, click on raise hand, and we will recognize you. All right, seeing none, we are back to the commission for any additional questions, comments, or a motion. Commissioner Kinsey.
Yeah, thanks again for Binder's comment. I suppose we could address it if the petitioner could maybe explain a little bit about what is envisioned for that space.
Yeah, Mr. Hanson, you want to answer that?
Good. Sorry, Tim.
That's okay. Well, what's envisioned is right now it's a concrete slab that sits about 6 inches above grade. And our plan was to remove that and basically grass it and have a green space there, which would provide, again, with the encroachment on the driveway to the north, would provide about 16 feet of green space between the building and the drive that's to the north. Right now we have a requirement of 6 bicycle parking spaces. And I think we're providing about twice that. So I don't see adding pedestrian facilities or any large park type facilities. I mean, there's a city park just to the south. And again, it's a space that I'm sure the encroachment agreement with CDU is going to be very, I won't say limiting. They will allow me to do whatever I want there if I remove it and replace it if they decide to do anything there in the future. So I'm not opposed if the city has a proposal to do something there. It wasn't something that we were going to add an amenity to, especially on the north side of the building. It's always going to be in the shade. There's not going to be a lot of sun. We have the kind of patio deck space that we're doing on the 4th floor on the setback piece that's on the 4th. So we were just kind of letting it be grass. And there's not a lot of depth to do a lot of planting there. Again, that space that they filled in with the box culvert that was there is all concrete. So what we're proposing to do is take that slab off and get at least a soil bed thick enough that we can put topsoil back and, sustain grass.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from commissioners? All right, how about a motion? Just as a reminder, the recommendation from staff is that the Planning Commission adopt the proposed findings and approve SP 2-22 with 5 conditions. There were 4 in the packet. There's a 5th petition that has been added. You see it on the screen now. That the petitioner must sign an encroachment agreement for the balconies that overhang the drainage easement and any seating or planters that are installed in the drainage easement. So that is the staff recommendation. Is there a commissioner who would like to make a motion?
I will motion Commissioner Whistler for approval of SP 02-22 to adopt the proposed findings and approve it with the 5 conditions as listed.
All right, is there a second? All right, any final comments before we call the roll on the motion? All right, seeing none. Darla, would you please call the roll on the motion to approve SP 02-22?
Crum,
Sorry, Commissioner Cochran had to leave. So
he's gone. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Herrera,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Seabour,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Whistler,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
and St. John.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, the motion carries. SP 222 is approved. That is our final agenda item for the evening. So unless there are any final announcements, I think we will adjourn.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Good night.